What up, everybody out there in podcast land? Thank you for tuning in yet again to another episode of Kane and Ross Present, the Yeah I Said It podcast. We're expressing what our full capabilities until they might want us in correctional facilities. Brainchild of my child. I am the dad half of this operation, Ross Cooper. As always, I'm rocking with the best, my co-host, and we got a special guest today. But of course, rocking with the best, my co-host. Please introduce yourself to the folk.
They say you are what you eat, but I never ate goat. Yeah, well, I was good, everybody. Everybody's having a good day, time, year, hour, second, all that good stuff. You watching on the other platforms, please share with your friends, family, your enemies, pets, all that good stuff, the alien that's on your roof. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like, share, comment, subscribe, because if you don't, you're going to get caught in the rain.
I don't know, man. I don't know if that's incentive enough. Some people like dancing in the rain. They wet. Never mind.
Who likes being wet and cold? Well, I don't like being wet and cold. So
oh yeah, I hate being wet clothes on. That's my pet peeve in life. Like that being lost. I can't be with clothes on. But before we get derailed, so we are always trying to keep in line with sign of times, right? And sadly, the mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas, had a lot of people talking a lot of noise about what teachers should do, what teachers should do, what a teacher should do this, teacher should do that. Well, we figured, smart play here, we have a guest that is a real live teacher right now, in real life, right now, in Maryland, right? So we will bounce some questions off of a real teacher because you must learn, in the words of the great KRS-One, my good buddy, longtime friend Vicki, super dope artist as well. That's the other superpower. That's the whole. Don't be modest. That's the other superpower. Super dope poet as well. But Vic, you're a teacher currently in Maryland. I will let you give details as you see fit. But we talked about this all night. But just tell the folks like what's it been like in class and since you've all like what's the mood, what's the temperature?
To be complete, well, first of all, I'm not in Maryland anymore, but I did spend 10 of my 16 years in Maryland school systems. So let's start with that. Just wanted to clarify that. But yeah, I was very surprised in a very sad way because when Uvalde happened, I was in shock. I was in shock. I was numb. I was horrified. I was heartbroken. And the first time I heard about it, they were still updating the body count and they had it at 18 kids at that point. And my first thought was, it was like the next day, my first thought was 2 of my 3 classes I'm going to see in the morning have 18 kids in them. And just imagining those children all not being here was like about to make me cry. And those are my 8th graders. I have a special relationship with my 8th graders. Every year we kind of just bond over a lot of different things in a lot of different ways. I'm not afraid to talk to my children about things. So we did talk. And we talked a lot about the fact that there's a lot of conversation around their safety protocol and the idea of maybe not in this case necessarily, but for secondary in this, because this was elementary school. So it's a little bit different, but in general, school shootings, for example, when they take place at the secondary level, everybody wants to say, oh, it's like, and it usually is a former student or a current student who has been the victim of bullying, etc. And my students know that I'm very much against bullying. I build a classroom culture of respect and understanding and self-love. You don't have to be friends with everybody, but you will respect everybody in all of their uniqueness and all of who they are. And as long as you are living in your own truth and your truth involves nothing but love for yourself and your fellow humans, then you are welcome to be exactly who you are. And I explained to my kids, yes, that's very important. Yes, that's a good way to help, keep these kind of things from happening. But at the same time, what we have to remember, and the kid in Uvalde was a good example, and he was a kid because he was freaking 18 years old, is that there are also the flip side of the same coin, there are sick people, mentally sick people out there. And I'm not talking about this mental health wave of like depression and stuff. I'm talking about sociopathic, psychopathic. This kid was, his peers were saying he was a bully in school. He enjoyed hurting animals. Like, these are kids who knew him. And what's one of the classic signs of somebody who ends up being a serial killer? They start hurting animals. They start with animals. So I told my students, you know, I was like, guys, yes, I want you to keep being nice. I want you to keep advocating against bullying. However, all of the kindness in the world is not going to stop somebody who has those kind of problems. And if in that case, I need you to be aware and speak up when you hear something, see something, even if it's your friend, even if your friend tells you about somebody else, even if it sounds like it's a joke, even if your friend is going to get mad at you for saying something. Speak up and keep telling people until somebody listens. Because one of the things that happens with teachers is there's a big push in education on lowering discipline data, and schools don't like to have numbers of kids that are being expelled or suspended or whatever. They want to keep those numbers low because they get punished by the state for those numbers. It looks bad, you know. And so what they'll do is they'll have students being reported for making threats or bringing weapons or what have you, you know, fighting, bullying, blah, blah, blah. And they'll send them back to class. And it won't just be a one-time thing. It'll be a many-time thing. And then eventually this child escalates to attacking a child or a teacher or, you know, something along those lines. And it's like, why are your numbers more important than the safety of your staff and your students? And I'm not even looking at the leadership, because the leadership has to do what they're kind of forced to do by the county and the state, you know, and the country at large, because we do have a DOE, you know, and a national who oversees all this. But these are the kind of questions that I have when I think of things like that. So, you know, the other interesting thing was, so that was my conversation with my 8th graders. And a lot of them were asking, like, why don't they make stricter gun laws? Like, why don't they just stop people who are 18 from getting guns? Like, they're not wrong. Like, and these are 14-year-olds, you know? The other side of it that kind of really, it's hard because it depressed me, but at the same time, I wasn't really sure how to feel about it. I was, through my master's program, I'm interning at you know, elementary level, middle, and high school. So I was at an elementary school 2 days after the shooting. And when I went in, I was like, okay, so elementary school, this is, you know, this is probably pretty impactful. So I went in, I'm expecting this somber tone. I'm expecting, you know, from the adults. This was before the kids come in. So I'm expecting more of a serious, like, basically atmosphere. And I go in and they're like, oh, hey, how are you? And I'm like, everybody good? Like, I want to check on people. I'm like, you guys okay? How are you doing? They're like, oh, we're fine. I'm like, oh, okay. And they're like, oh, you mean because of the shooting? I was like, well, yeah. And they're like, oh, well, you know. And it's sad because at this point, people are just so numb to it. They're like, yeah, like, it was sad, but maybe, like, without social media, like, it was better when we didn't find out about every single bad thing that happens. And I'm like, I think we would have found out about this anyway. Right. Like, but yeah, everybody was just kind of like, yeah, okay. But they were like acting like it was a normal day. And it was just very weird to me. So.
That is totally weird. I can't believe that that's what's happening right now. Like, what? This is what's going on in schools. Like, I find it like, wow, this is school now. This is what I remember, you know, when I was in school, and this was the furthest thing from anybody's mind. And now the threat of, hey, someone might bring a gun to school. Like,
this is the inherent risk of the job at this point. I mean, a lot of teachers will argue and they'll say, I refuse to take a bullet for anybody's kid. But my opinion, and this is only my opinion, is that at this point, when the minute whether you agree or disagree with the statement that you're going to take a bullet for somebody's kid, the minute you walk into a school building, it's implied that you are willing to do that, because at this point, having a shooter in the building is an inherent risk of the job. It's no longer this random thing that happens. I mean, I was watching, my girl AOC. I don't know if you watched her hearing on the gun hearing earlier, and she was saying within 10 years, I think 2009 to 2018, the U.S. had 288 school shootings, not even mass shootings, just school shootings. And in those same almost 10 years, the G7 countries combined had 5 combined. And like she said, that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing and horrific.
And Kay, feel free to jump in here, but it's just just applause for you for the job that you do, because once upon a time, teaching did not involve risking one's own life. And now it's like, hey, I might need hazard pay to be a teacher. And that is absolutely insane. So especially if you teach in certain areas, in certain inner city school districts or poorer school districts, you have to worry about parent involvement and all of these things. And layered on top of all of that is, oh, by the way, someone might shoot at me. And I can't.
I mean, Ohio just passed a law that says that teachers can be armed with 24 hours of training. 24. Now, in contrast, police officers have to have 700 hours of training. But no, we're good with 24, and it'll go over very well, because, we're teachers. We're going to make it work.
And those famous last words, what could possibly go wrong?
There it is.
What could go wrong? And I'm just blown away by, like I said, what your job actually entails now. And I don't think people get the ask. I don't think people understand what teachers are responsible for currently. Like, you have to be part-time therapist, and you have to be referee, and it's just, obviously, just to make it clear, you're not for arming teachers, right?
Fuck no, I don't want to. No, I will quit if they would ever mandate that we have to carry. I am quitting. Can I shoot a gun? Yes. Have I shot a gun? Yes. I have no desire, even if I wanted to, even in the past, I have wanted to purchase my own personal firearm for my own, because especially when I lived in Baltimore, I was living by myself, single woman, I kind of was like, I wanted it, but at the same time, I was working in school. I didn't want to bring that shit to school. Like, I have zero desire to do that. And there's so many, and I don't know if I shared it with you, but there's a post that I shared in one of my progressive groups where this guy asks a slew of questions to the people who are in favor of arming teachers, such as liability questions. Are we covered if we accidentally shoot a child? Are we what's going to happen if are we expected to go out and look for the shooter? If we do that and something happens to our kids, are we responsible? If we don't go out and look for the shooter and they kill somebody else, are we responsible? Are we responsible? Like what happens when the police come in and they see us with the gun? Are they going to assume we're the shooter? Like, there are so many factors that go into this. And like, mentally, like I keep thinking the mental preparedness that you would have to have in that quick time, that people who are in the armed forces, people that are supposedly trained to be police officers, and all of this, that they have to go through psychologically to prepare for being able to take a life. They expect us to be able to do that, surrounded by children in a split second be able to shift that brain of, I am the caretaker, I am the caregiver to these young lives. Now I have to become a person who's willing to take a life within a split second. I just was grading papers and singing a song, and now I have to pull out a pistol and potentially take. No, I have no. And at the same time, I'm not gonna, like, people are like, well, then you'll just be sitting ducks. Let me tell you something. My room for the last 6 years, no windows. There's one door, no windows. So what have I done? I told, what am I gonna tell? I'm not gonna tell my kids, yeah, we're just gonna have to sit here and hope for the best. No, they're going in through the ceiling. I'm gonna do everything I can to protect them. I'm gonna do everything I can to save them and me. But that does not include ever having a gun on me in school.
Having a gun in the classroom. And it's just like, so what part of teacher training is that going to come in? Like, how to deal with this and that? Like, is that going to be part of the new teacher training curriculum? Like, how did it, are
that's going to be
classes?
That's going to be the after school professional development, where we do a PowerPoint slide of, 25 minutes where we click as we're grading papers and listen to the presentation and then take a quiz. And if you get, below an 80, you have to take it again, and then you cheat and ask your friend for the answer. Yeah, that's basically how every training goes when you're in education. So it's probably what it'll be like.
Teachers be cheating. I knew it.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I was good then. See, I wasn't a bad person. So that's good.
Do as I say, not as I do. So,
and I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I just can't believe we're here. We're here. We're discussing, hey, we might need a teacher to shoot somebody. Just saying. And it's just, and it'll just, I'll open the floor, because Kane and I have talked about this often. But what do you think gun control looks like? Like, I don't know, because what we're talking about is, let's make it harder for people to get guns. Okay, but again, I don't know. I haven't followed the facts. I don't know if this is true. I'm just saying that Uvalde shooter bought all his stuff legally.
But most of them do.
If you
70% of the mass shootings are with legally purchased weapons. So but that's therein lies the problem, and that's what needs to be addressed. Therein lies the fallacy. How is it legal for an unstable 18-year-old with these psychotic tendencies to go and buy a gun like I can go buy a candy bar? That is not okay. There should be no laws in place in this country where that is possible. I don't even really want to be allowed to buy a semi-automatic or automatic, whatever it is, AR-15. Like, there's no reason for us as civilians, and I know I'll get a lot of flack for saying this, but there is no reason for civilians to have that gun, because, and I think we talked about this the other day, like, in the last 100 years, because they'll be like, oh, Second Amendment, my rights, and protecting, in case I need to invoke my Second Amendment. Bro, it's been 100 years of shit in this country. When did you ever invoke that Second Amendment? When was the last time any normal citizens came together as a well-formed militia and stood up against the government? The government's been fucking us up the ass for how long now?
I've been saying that.
And so, no lube. And so when at this point, like, have you decided to do this? You have your stockpile of machinery and weaponry for this day that has come and gone many times over, and you don't do shit about it. So there goes that argument. Bye. Bye. It's done.
It's so diluted. Like I don't think people understand the scope when they say such things. I'm like, listen, your fear is the U.S. government is going to come and say, hey, you know what? Martial law. We're going to just slam the hammer down, martial law. So if they do, what's you and your little stockpile going to do about that, Chief?
Yeah, against the tank.
You said that last show. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other thing is, gun laws are inherently racist because they were founded with the Black Panthers. Was it Black Panthers? That's when gun laws started being restricted in the first place. I mean, that's when the NRA started being like, yeah, maybe there should be gun laws because Black people have guns now and they're standing on Congress.
I bet if it was the other way around and it was us doing the mass shootings, it probably would have happened a lot sooner.
You know what? I actually wanted to say that on Facebook, but Facebook has my number and they like to like throw me in jail for the most like stupid shit. So I was like, let me not say this.
Oh, I
But
say
yes,
I don't give a fuck. But yeah, like I said, if the shoe was on the other foot, them laws would have happened real quick. And no one would have had a damn. They might have took everybody gun at that point. But yeah,
you
it's
black,
sad.
brown, all of, but they then you know.
That's it.
I mean, but and technically with the white supremacists and the people who are pro Second Amendment, you know, whatever they think it means, what they'll say to counter that argument is that mass shootings have been committed by mostly non-white people in the United States. And when you look at the term mass shootings as being defined as 4 or more people being shot, then yes, maybe that is true, but it's really not as true as they think, because if you look at the statistics, it's basically the same percent of people of those races are shooting. How do I explain this? It's like if Black people make up 13% of the population, they also make up 13% of the mass shooters. And white people and like Hispanic, yeah, and like Hispanic people is like 17 and 16. And like white people, they make 60% of the population, but they make 52% of the shooters. So they'll be like, well, technically we're the least amount of mass shooters because we're in the lesser number. It's like, yeah, but like
just stop.
Like I said, they don't make school shooter jokes on Black people. Just saying. But yeah.
And that's the one thing I have to say. When I worked in Baltimore, that's the one thing I was never afraid of. Never afraid of a mass shooting. Ever. It wasn't until I left Baltimore that I had genuine fear. And it wasn't until I left Maryland that a school shooting became an actual threat. 10 years of no problems, and then get into a new state, and first year there was like, yeah, we have a threat of a mass shooting at a school. So, and I've been in lockdown.
Me too.
I was about to say, okay, this just got scared really quickly. What does an active shooter drill consist of? Like, what is, we hear it. What does an active shooter drill consist of?
In our school, it's middle school, it's 7th and 8th. Basically, you close your door. Your door should be locked at all times anyway. You close your door. They have a little black curtain that goes over your window of your door. You turn off all the lights and you put the kids all against the farthest corner of the room and make them sit on the floor in silence. Now, if it was not a drill, I told my kids already, I'm shoving you through the ceiling. And they kind of giggle, but I'm like, no, I'm dead ass serious. Like, if I had windows, I'd shove you out the windows, but I don't. So you're going through the ceiling to the art room and out the door.
I would probably do that anyway. You wouldn't have to tell me if I was in that class. But yeah.
That's what it is. And I take it extremely seriously. And sometimes I have kids who don't, like they giggle and all this stuff. And I'm like, this is not funny. We should not have to be doing this right now. I don't want to hear you talking because you're saying that it's funny that children have died and that's why we had to do this now. You know, it's not okay.
Is it?
So like, it's hard. And then imagine that with 30 or 25, 6-year-olds or 7-year-olds. Who just, I mean, there was a meme, and it wasn't really a meme, and I don't know if I sent it to you, but it was like a tweet that somebody said their 9-year-old was looking up how not to sneeze, and she said, what's the matter? Like, you have a cold or something? And he said, no, I know that if I sneeze during our active, like if a shooter comes in our school and I sneeze, we're all dead. Like, little kids should not, and he has allergies, and he's like, he sneezes a lot, especially now. And it's like, that should not be on children.
It should be. Like I said, their blood is on somebody's hands. But
How about those cops that waited outside an hour, over an
yeah,
hour?
yeah.
And now there's apparently evidence that one of the cops was actually one of the ones who shot, like the cop shot either a kid or one of the adults inside the building. Like it wasn't the shooter, it was a cop who shot somebody.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
This gets worse and
And
worse
the,
by the minute. But
and the guy that they shot that survived, that the shooter shot, he's been contacted, and the woman, the mother who like broke out of handcuffs and ran back into the building, they've both been contacted by the police department of that city and told not to talk to the media.
that's not surprising. But blue lives matter, and so does guns.
Yep, Smurfs,
But
Smurfs and Avatar definitely matter. Smurfs and
not
Avatar.
kids. Like I said, I knew nothing was going to happen about this gun situation when the first elementary school got lit up and nothing happened. Thoughts and prayers, and we forgot about it in like 2 weeks, and we're starting to kind of forget about it now. So it's like, yeah, I said, I don't know what gun control looks like. I don't think it will work. I think the only solution to work is if we kind of do what some other countries do and just outlaw guns completely. But I know people's gonna get their panties in a bunch about the Second Amendment. That's cool. But hey, somebody run there with a knife, I like my chances versus a gun.
But
Of anything, a hand, because like I said, even if you just ban semi-autos and assault rifles, so no one has ARs and all that, you forcibly take that. You still have handguns and shotguns that can still do the same amount of damage. And people, you can literally look up on the internet and know how to mod a gun. I can turn a regular pistol to a semi-auto or whatever, or a semi-auto pistol and turn it to a fully auto. Like I said, I don't see a way to fix it while we still have guns. But we'll never not have guns because of the Second Amendment and because the NRA is fucking the government in the ass every day. So it's like, well, yeah. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, but the government likes it from the NRA.
Yeah.
They're enjoying
all right,
it.
so now we have to play the other side of it. To be fair, are we really seriously talking about taking away all guns? Because then the thing is, if we focus on taking away all the guns legally, then to go really super Republican here, only the bad guys have the guns.
Well, that is true.
That's true, but who's letting the guns get? Who's letting the guns get here?
They'll be smuggled in, just like they smuggled in coke and just like they smuggled in weed.
And they allow all that to happen. This is all a cycle. This is an ecosystem. Everything is connected. So why would they stop their breadwinner? This is how everything works. So no, they won't care.
By the way, and this is the part where I have to remind you all that from a statistical standpoint, certain violent crimes are lesser in open carry states. So you can easily say, hey, in Texas, in Florida, in places where people got that thing on them, you a little less inclined to run up on them and try to rob.
But there's still been mass shootings in those states. There's still mass shootings in those states.
Yeah.
So like I guess you will have a
point.
Yeah,
that's why that they go to the schools and kill the kids, because the kids aren't.
They're gonna find, even if it's an open carry state, they're gonna find a place where people don't have the strength. Like I said, a hospital just recently got shot. Like, who would think that you get a bullet in your ass in a hospital? That's usually where you go after you get the bullet in your ass. So it's like they're usually attacking places, like I said, Buffalo, a supermarket. They know it's not. They're attacking people that are quote unquote weak and vulnerable, that they ain't got the strength on. So they'll find a way, a loophole to do it. So it won't matter if it's an open carry state or not. That's not saving nobody.
But this is why looking at, because again, a lot of these mass shootings are happening with legally purchased firearms. Are we going to ever eliminate mass shootings 100%? No, I don't think that's real. I don't think that's logistically possible. how, and that's just given the nature of Americans and humans in general. But that is why we have to look at the laws on the books. We have to look at the policies that dictate how these guns are purchased and who can purchase these guns. Increasing the age to purchase, doing more thorough background checks. I would even, and this is not going to be legal at all, so I know it's not going to happen, but if there is a kid with a concerning or disturbing record in school, for example, the elementary school I was in recently, two of the students, one was a kindergartner, one was a sixth grader, it was confirmed by admin, sociopaths, sociopathic tendencies. One was diagnosed sociopath. So, once they graduate, usually those records are sealed. I would argue we need to have limited access to those types of records when it comes to somebody who wants to get a gun. Like, I would want to be able to know that this child has a history of telling other kids, for example, and this is true, that he wants to add their dead bodies to his pet collection, or that he wants to taste their flesh and find out what they taste like.
Okay, Hannibal Lecter. All right.
Um,
So what happens to those kids that are deemed, psychopath? What happens to them? So they're sealed, but this information. So what are we doing about it? We're just like, okay, well,
we can't do anything legally that's outside the process. So have they said these things? Yes. Have they made any action towards doing anything? No. Are they being treated for these things? Yes. Are they being medicated? Yes. Are they following their plan? Yes. Then legally you can't remove them from the school setting. They have a right to an education, all these things. But it's tough, man. It's tough when you know, like I have a student who was I had a student who basically he was looking up disturbing things on his computer, because these kids, within 5 seconds of them getting individual laptops, they figured out how to jailbreak them to be able to go on.
I remember that.
So see, this is why y'all can't have nice things. But like these children cannot have nice things. But like that was like the thing where I basically, he came to me today and he was like, the principal took my computer because I was looking at this video and it wasn't even bad and all this stuff. And I said, okay, but you got in trouble earlier in the year and had your computer taken away for how long? Because you were looking at very disturbing, very concerning videos. You were sharing them. You tried to put, he was like really fascinated with like World War II and Hitler and all this stuff. Plot twist, he's a brown kid. He's not a white kid. He's a brown kid.
Right.
Very much into all this, nationalistic stuff. So I said, so you kind of got to remember you're in a tighter box than all the other kids when it comes to what you're looking at. And he wanted me to like advocate for him. And I'm like, I'll see what I can do, but I'm telling you, because I'm kind of going through the same thing with Facebook. Like that's kind of like my thing. Like I can't even tell somebody to pay attention and stay on topic without being accused of bullying. So like, so like I told him, I was like, you have to remember that you have now created a situation where you're going to be in a tighter, frame of permission when it comes to what you can and can't do and what's okay, because we're going to be looking at you with heightened concern. And, he didn't really, I don't know if he really understood that, but that was like, that's the whole thing with these kids is, we have to be vigilant about what they're doing and what they continue to do and how we move forward with them and what kind of supports they get, he tried to implement something on an assignment for me way back in the fall that was nationalistic slash, neo-Nazi-ish on a thing that I had to put on the front screen where everybody could see it. And that became a conversation with his parent and with his counselor and everything. But it's a very delicate, it's a dance you have to play when it comes to these concerns. But at the end of the day, I think that these concerns need to be something that goes onto a permanent record, that if they ever want to get any kind of weapon, to be fair, any kind of weapon, I think needs to be, they need to have access to these kind of things, even if it was when you were
So I
13 or
have,
14.
That's why
I have
I,
a,
oh, uh,
I was
oh,
gonna say, I'll pose a question and then I'll let you jump in, Kane. Um, and I'm curious what you both have to say on this one. This is me being an advocate again. There are literally more guns in this country than people, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but maybe not. But the argument is being made, look, while there are X amount of mass shootings, school shootings, there are way more guns than people, quite possibly. And what it looks like you're trying to do here is punish responsible gun owners. I own a gun. I have an arsenal. Not be specific, just plain advocate. I have a gun. I have an arsenal. I'm a responsible gun owner. I keep my stuff locked up. No one's ever getting a hold of my stuff. I'm a responsible gun owner. Why should I have to pay the price for these wackos and these racists and these guys that are off kilter that are causing all these problems? Why should I be penalized? I'm a responsible gun owner. Why should I have to pay the price for them? All right, Kane, you go, and I'd love to hear you guys answer on that one.
okay. Well, to solve that, to go back, what I was going to say is you should have if we're going to do the gun control stuff, you should have a harder background check, and you should have, it should be mandatory that you have psychological testing and all that. And you go through like a long ass process just to get one. And just like, is it licenses or something? I know for certain practices you had to renew your license and stuff and take the test over. So I think if you're a gun owner, if we're going this route and keeping guns, I think every year you should have to do everything you did to get the gun all over again, just to make sure you straight. Because stuff happens within a year, and you could. That's that. So if we gonna go through it, we gotta go all the way. We gonna have to make it a hassle if we're gonna go
Yeah.
that route.
And I think, oh, go
Okay.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So yeah, so you want to be real strict, like I said, testing, psychological testing, all types of tests, yearly, annually, every year, no matter what type of gun you have. Or you're gonna have to do that every year. Basically checkups, like the doctors or something. Or like I said, there's a second option. Nobody has guns. Well, I know that's not gonna happen. So, this ain't utopia. This is planet Earth in America. Cut. But yeah, other places don't have this problem. I want to know what the hell they're doing. I know some places already do have guns banned, so they have more assaults, I think, than here. Like blades and stuff, but not a lot of shootings. Even with illegal guns, it's not a lot. But here it's just an everyday thing. We have more mass shootings than we've had days this year, by almost double. And the second closest country doesn't even have half of what we have. That's a problem. It's becoming normal. Shouldn't be normal. Teachers shouldn't be trained armed guards in school. It's already bad that it's the school to prison pipeline is real. So now you're gonna make it more real by adding armed teachers, more armed guards. Now I'm hearing that you want metal detectors. So I'm like, wow. So tell me it's prison without prison. I already felt it was prison school. So now we really in prison. You prepared me for something, especially in low income places and schools where, they're already looking at your test scores and predicting you're going to be there anyway. So why not get you ready? So this is all fucked up. So yeah, if you're going to keep the guns, which I know we are, psychological testing, all that stuff annually, every year, if you want to keep your gun. If you don't do it, we take it. There you go. That's my answer for that. See, you get to keep your gun.
Yeah.
All you got to do is test. That's it.
And I agree with you. I feel like it's people that say, well, you're punishing the good gun owners. So if you are refusing or you fail any of the testing required, then clearly you weren't supposed to have one in the first place. If you are in general a healthy person and you do believe yourself to be well, you know, of sound mind and sound body to be able to possess, then you shouldn't have a problem taking any tests required or passing them. Ergo, this shouldn't affect you. That's like,
Exactly.
I mean, I don't see the problem with that. That's like, you know, when I walk my dog and she takes a shit, I clean it up. Like, I don't like, you know, there's a $500 fine if you don't clean up your dog shit, and that's like people complaining about having to pay the fine. Like, if you're cleaning up the shit, there shouldn't be a problem with you worrying about the fine.
It's true.
Like, and then, you know, Israel, everybody keeps talking about Israel, you know, oh, there's armed guards at schools at Israel, blah, blah, blah. I was looking it up. I don't know if you guys have gone through this, but Israel has, and it's just one example of many countries where citizens are allowed to carry. But they have gun control, so they have to, you know, the citizens have to meet this list of criteria. They have to ask the state for a license. They're only allowed to have one gun at a time, and they have to even ask permission to sell their gun. 40% of requests are rejected. They have to meet the minimum age requirements, be in good health, of sound mind, and have no criminal record, among other preconditions. So that's just for starters. They're limited to just 50 bullets in their possession at any given time. They either have to shoot or sell or give back the old bullets before they can get new ones. And that these things can only take place at specific shooting ranges, so that they know where these bullets are going. They're tracking them. I don't, and then it says the types of guns permitted also depend on the reason for the license. Hence, a veterinarian may only purchase a gun approved by the government for the killing of animals. A hunter's license only permits the purchase of a firearm for an approved firearms list kept by the Parks Authority, etc. Logically, that makes sense. If I live in a big urban city, why do I need a hunting rifle? A handgun would do just fine.
Because people in Baltimore go to Pennsylvania to hunt, but I get your point overall.
You can rent.
And it's
Okay,
like-
so to
Right.
solve that problem, go there and rent a gun.
Right, rent and go to a moderated, monitored hunting park.
Exactly. It's like all this is so fucking simple, and we're not doing it.
So let's up the ante a little bit. Let's up the ante. Uncle Joe and everybody says, you know what? Because of everything that's going on here, we are now, and he said it actually. He said the Second Amendment is not absolute. Whoa.
No
Whoa.
amendment is absolute, though.
Didn't I tell you about this?
Well, that's a little scary because that also means by default I should be worried about the 13th. But different conversation for a different day. But the
is it really there?
That,
go ahead.
Woo, that 13th Amendment loophole, boy. But he said the Second Amendment is not absolute, which to me is code for, listen, we will actually entertain revoking that bitch. So if Uncle Joe next year says Second Amendment's gone, turning all your guns, are you concerned? Are you good with that?
I'm concerned. Well, I'm already concerned about all this shit that's going on. I'm not concerned about the guns. I'm concerned about everything else. And like I said, it wouldn't matter. We had this conversation last episode and probably off here. The government wanted to do something to you. There's nothing you can do about it. There's no amount of militia or army or arsenal that you can do that can take the U.S. government. The only thing you can hope that can happen is that you appeal to the actual soldiers that's doing it, that's following orders, if they will follow orders on their own fellow man, neighbors, family, and etc. But we've seen that happen in history that they will. So there's nothing you can do. So if they say no guns, it's no guns. And we'll still have illegal ones. It's not like that's going to disappear. So, I mean, what are you going to do? You haven't done nothing now. We did that. Well, y'all did that. Y'all did that little demonstration at the Capitol. Y'all almost tried to raid Area 51 until they said we will blast your ass if you come near me. And y'all scared
where
out.
was the militia then?
Yeah, it's like, there's a lot of shit in Area 51 that they're willing to kill you on site with no warning.
Yep.
So where's militia going in there? There's probably a whole bunch of shit in there.
Man,
We might have
we
ET
probably
and his
own this
family in there.
country. Yeah.
Killing weapons of mass destruction in there, but we don't care about that because y'all scared. So just stop pretending. That's just a sign. You just want to keep your gun and keep your gun, man. You have no
And
plan.
I want to know, where is this militia when it comes to protecting the babies after things like this shooting?
That too.
Where is the militia protecting the schools? You know, why aren't they organizing and marching the streets? Because these are open carry states where a lot of these things are happening. Why aren't these good guys with guns making it known that they're there, walking the streets, organizing their people, and being this fucking militia that they claim to be? These patriots, I guess kids' lives, oh well.
Crickets. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm thinking about it. And Ken, you and I have talked about it. And you know, I spoke about it. Okay, granted, if the US government really wanted to be on some martial law tip, there's but so much we're gonna be able to do about it. But thinking about that in real time now, just shifting the narrative, and we see social media posts or something that they are, think Freddie Gray on steroids. So we all know what happened in Baltimore after Freddie Gray. Pretty much at some point, the National Guard was called in and gave everybody the biggest go your ass home ever, and everybody listened, right? What if they took it a step further? I actually, personally, would feel better knowing I had some form of defense, not just I gotta lay down and put my hands behind my back. So to flip it, yeah, I get it. Technically, it's just me, my homies, and a few guns against a tank. That's not real good odds, but it's better. I'll take a 5% chance over a no percent chance.
That's a 0.001%.
Don't you also think? I know. Don't you also think that if you pulled that weapon out, you don't think that they would take that as every reason to just take you out right there?
It's a tank.
I mean,
I don't want to get hit with a tank shell. That's a bad way to go.
Exactly.
You can hit me with something else, but don't hit me with that, bro. I'm gonna die fighting, but I'm not dying that way. We're gonna do it a little more civilized. But
I mean, I just better to die on my feet than live on my knees.
I get it.
It's
like I said,
I'm thinking about it in real time now, and while I understand logically, look, a coordinated military strike ain't a whole lot. Urban suppression, so on and so forth. It's but so much you're gonna be able to do about it. But I like to think I got an option. I can go out fighting.
You go out fight with a knife.
Shut up.
Me on your Wolverine type stuff, man. Go ahead. But hey, we can go back to bows and swords and shit. I'll do that. We can go back to that. But there's nothing we can do if the military said something. But I get it. Like Killmonger says, it's better to die than live a life of bondage. I get it. But you're still you're just delaying the inevitable at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know. I understand we have a problem. I understand we have a cultural problem. I don't exactly know how we solve it. And I'm just trying to say, like, if we can say at least, what does gun control look like? It's like, you know what they say when it comes to the pigs? Policing reimagined. What does policing reimagined look like? And it's like, well, it's a fatally flawed system to begin with. I don't know how you fix it. Gun control is pretty much the Second Amendment gone way, like where we are now is the Second Amendment going way out of control. Well, what does the Second Amendment reimagined look like?
We already did it. Like
I
I said,
mean,
yeah.
there's so many different ways and so many different perspectives. And unfortunately, as I teach my kids all the time, uh-oh, where'd he go? He
No, I'm
disappeared.
with you. I'm just getting some
Oh,
light going because it's getting
oh.
dark in here. But please keep talking.
But as I teach my kids and as they learn, sometimes in real time throughout the school year, a couple of people can ruin things for everybody. And I think even with the best intentions and the most effective strategies, people are going to do what they do and ruin even the most well-intentioned, the most seemingly strongest gun reform policies. They're going to still find ways to ruin them, and that'll be the first bandwagon that, the first excuse that like the NRA and all the Republicans are going to need to say, oh, see, it didn't work. No, this isn't right. Even if it's statistically less, even if like look at when AR-15s were banned. We had less mass shootings during that time after, who was it, Clinton? Did Clinton ban them?
I think it was Clinton. But,
Gracias.
and
Ya puse la
he
crema.
got busy doing a whole bunch of other
Ya
shit,
puse.
but it might have been
Buenas
Clinton.
noches. Yeah, like I think it was. And then they lifted it in 2004 and mass shootings went up like, what was it? Dumb big number, like 300% or something crazy. Like,
Oh,
and they want to, like, nobody wants to admit the correlation. And I'm like, how I don't understand. Like, that's like me having a student who refuses to study and they keep failing, and then they study one day and they pass. And I'm like, did you not understand why
I don't know
you
what
pass now? Like,
all
and they're
right,
like,
Frank.
no. It makes no sense.
I
I
said,
mean, to me, I'm sorry. You go ahead, sir. Go ahead,
no,
sir.
I was about to say another factor that we can't really regulate is, the birth of social media and all this other stuff. So everyone, like I said, cyberbullying became a thing. That probably one of the thing when I was younger. Wasn't probably a thing for y'all, but you got older, that became a thing. Everyone was on social
Mm-hmm.
media. And like I said, one fight, you either heard about it. When I was young, you heard about it. When I got older,
Mm-hmm.
it's on air now. Everybody's sending it to you, blah, blah, blah. So something happens, everybody sees, and that type of embarrassment, it's on a whole new level now.
Mm-hmm.
So people, and a lot of people don't like being embarrassed, and will do extreme things to retaliate for that. So I know social media probably had a part of that. That's probably why the suicide rate is higher too. But
Oh, especially among the adolescents.
yep,
Absolutely. I mean, I still can't believe that there are school districts where they don't want uh the teachers to teach SEL. Like, that blows my mind. Social emotional learning,
Okay,
building
thank you,
empathy,
thank you. I'm like,
I'll try to look smart.
building.
That's it.
Yeah, I could tell by the silence. It's okay. It's like when I ask a question in class, that's the same sound, so it's all right. But yeah, like they don't want. I mean, not my. I mean, personally, mine does want us teaching it, and they push it. But there are districts around the country where they don't want it taught, and I think Florida has a bunch of anti-SEL because they assume it's CRT, things like that. But that is where you develop empathy, where you help children build compassion, where you help them build tolerance and understanding, and you help them find themselves and learn how to self-identify and self-advocate. I don't understand what is wrong with that. I mean, I've been working with middle schoolers for 16 years. My kids are about to turn 30. I feel old as shit by saying that. But like, like that, we have always worked on that. I start my year off with the Shane Koizan poem, spoken word poem, To This Day. Like, it's called To This Day. Like, I start my year off talking about bullying and using that, and then telling them my own stories about being bullied. And you know, that is how we start off the year, and we establish our culture in our classroom, and I explain what I will and will not tolerate. And yet it's so funny because I don't have kids who bully, and I don't have kids who fight, and I have kids
What a
who are
coincidence.
vulnerable and kind to each other in the classroom and build relationships and come to me to help them with conflict resolution when they don't really know what to do. So they find somebody, me, who is a healthy person for them to help figure that out, because we have built this community. And there is, you know, I've thought about moving to Florida because my parents are down there. And I'm like, you know, my parents said to me though, they were like, you're not coming down here. You're not.
What a
And they were like,
weird.
not only will you not be paid well, but they will not, you don't want to work here. You don't. And I'm like, you know, thinking about it, yeah, I'd probably get fired within 2 weeks, because I'd be like, AOC rocks. Let's talk about anti-bullying and, you know, Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ pride. And
Oh yeah,
yeah,
you can't do that.
so
Not in Florida. Not in Florida.
That last one, you'd be fired right there on the spot.
right.
But
So, you know, but like that's a big thing that does help students, is to work on those things. And it's why we need to get it more of those kind of programs into schools, and get teachers who shouldn't be teaching out of the industry, or practice, or whatever you call it. Because that's the other thing that I didn't mention earlier, was my other fear about arming teachers is, and this is because I've seen it firsthand, and I hate to like be generalizing because I'm sure it's not all just white teachers, but I'm gonna say in general, the white teachers that they put into these inner city schools who are feeling threatened and overwhelmed and under supported, because a lot of these schools, the leadership is feeling very overwhelmed, and you know, they're you know, freaking out. I could just, and I know several teachers that I've worked with in the past personally, you give them a gun the first minute that little Brian decides to throw a chair across the room because he failed his test, they're going to feel threatened and take out that gun
That
and turn it
sounds
on that
oddly
child.
familiar. I
I'm
wonder
glad
what other profession does that. I'm
I'm
sorry.
glad you said that, because I didn't want to say it because you're a teacher and I hate teachers. But you seem like a teacher I would like, because I only like 2 teachers in my whole life. The rest I did. And you know, I've
Yeah,
had
I
some.
make my kids like me even when they don't want to like me. Yeah.
See, I think I'll get along in your class if I was, you know, a long time ago.
As long as you're
But
not an asshole, you're cool with me.
I'm a lovable asshole. But whatever. Like I said,
That is
we
my son, ladies
we
and gentlemen.
we
Thank you.
But that's like, I mean, I will tell you a quick story. I remember being in my it was my first or second year of teaching in Baltimore at a school that is no longer in existence. We're standing around, it was right before winter break, and there was this big snowstorm. And this white teacher, older white teacher, has the nerve to say, I hope it doesn't snow that bad. And we were like, why? We would get out of school early, you know, for winter break. She was like, because then all of these kids will be snowed in, and and then in 9 months we'll have all these black babies running around. And we don't need that. We don't need more black babies
Wow.
running around. And all of us just looked at her like, wait, did you just say that? Is this real life right now? And I was like, you know, I was like in my 20s, I was new. So like, I didn't know what to do. Like the me now, it wouldn't have gone well because, yeah. But the me then, I was like, you know, like super like new, and the principal already was targeting me. So I was like, I don't know what I can and can't say. So we all were just like, what the fuck? And we all just
Yeah, you
left.
shouldn't be teaching.
like I
You
said,
shouldn't be. Yeah.
But those kind of people are in education. And unlike the police department, where when you find out that your fellow cop is a child molester or a wife beater or whatever, you protect them and you support them. if you're a teacher and you find out something like that about a fellow teacher, we basically shun them. Like they're not part of our group. When no teacher at my school was arrested for child porn, like I don't think anybody spoke to him again, like at all. There was no speaking up for him. There was no speaking out for him. We were like, yeah, no, he don't fuck with us. We don't fuck with him no more. Like
How was
he's
he
not
not
part of our
fired?
crew.
He should have been fired.
Huh?
He should have even been there. If that was the
He
case.
was arrested. He was fired. But
Okay.
I mean, you know, like, but there are cases where other companies, other industries, police, for example, can, you know, have these kind of charges, similar charges, and you always see like, oh, we're not going to say anything bad about our brother in blue. And like, no, teachers. That's the one thing that I do like about being a teacher is like there will be. We're not gonna claim them. We don't claim them. You know, we don't claim those people. They're gone. We don't fuck with them. We don't let them try to claim us either. But yeah, like that would be my concern is that a teacher that right now the education and I don't even know what you call it, education practice, the education industry, I don't even know what it is anymore. But like education as a whole is not, we still have enough teachers in the system that shouldn't be teachers, that arming teachers is problematic.
Yeah.
Right.
Beyond every other reason, there is that. There is also that.
I've known I've had teachers that had short tempers, and I've had teachers that were touchy. I had all types of teachers. And if they had a gun, I might not be here, to be honest with you. So, hey, no, we do not need to arm teachers at all. Please, don't do that.
All right.
But yeah, go ahead.
Now I was gonna actually start bringing this around and wrapping it up, but if you got another point to make, by all means.
Well, I mean, you also have the whole conversation, we could have another day about the criminalization of especially Black children, particularly Black boys, versus the medicalization of white children
Yeah.
Oh boy.
in school starting at the youngest educational years, which contributes to the racial gap in discipline data when it comes to exclusionary discipline.
I was a
I
victim of
didn't,
that, so I remember.
so
So yeah,
um,
yeah, that hits home. I was a victim of that. Probably still am, but yeah, it's just it's hot. It's hot.
I mean, I love what I do in
When are you
terms
gonna
of
be a
working with the
principal?
children. So, huh?
When are you gonna be a principal?
Never. I don't ever want to be a principal. I am not. You know my mouth. I cannot play those political games that they have to play. I cannot be diplomatic. You got a parent who's entitled to shit wants to come in here and talk about how their child is better than all my other kids because they're athletically gifted or because they're intellectually gifted, and that's why I should look the other way when they do dumb teenage shit because they're dumb teenagers. No, your kid, the nice thing about assholes is that all of them are pink. So I don't want to hear why your kid is not an asshole. Like all of them are at some point, and you're not. I'm not going to sit here and placate you because you have your kid has a privilege that my other kids don't. I can't do it. Principals have to be able to do it.
And they don't. But, well, mine.
No, they do. That's the problem. That's the problem is they do.
Oh
They
yeah.
do, and I can't. I want to have say I want all my students to have a voice and the opportunity that every other one gets. And the minute that that becomes unequal is the minute we have to level the playing field because they're never going to be unequal against each other. They're all going to get the same opportunities in my room.
Which is exactly why you need to be a principal. But okay. Exactly it. All right. So this was awesome. I'm gonna do a quick recap, let you both have a chance to recap. Okay, on my end of things, no, I do not believe we should arm teachers. Yes, I believe that taking the Second Amendment away should be on the table. Everything should be weighed, but I don't think, I think taking the Second Amendment away is absolutely something that should be on the table. No, I don't exactly know what gun control to the point where it has an impact looks like. I don't know. We've been talking about this for a while. I don't exactly know. We toss some ideas out. I don't exactly know what gun control that it has a positive impact looks like, short of taking away the guns. It seems to in other countries work. I hate America's hubris where we think we are the leading authority on everything, and we refuse to look outside these borders. We don't get maternity leave right. We don't get health care right. We don't get prison right. So why on earth would I think we get guns right? Well, America gets guns right. There's no we here. So yeah, that's my recap. No, we shouldn't arm teachers. Yes, snatching the Second Amendment away should be on the table. No, I don't exactly know what different gun control looks like. We got some great ideas, but I don't know. Either of you two, your recap. Go for it.
Me?
Sure,
Okay.
why not?
Oh, okay. Basically, I agree with most of what you said. Don't arm teachers, please. Don't, please, please. I mean, there's already a huge teacher shortage. Teachers walking out. You don't want to lose more of the good ones because you make stupid laws to arm us. We're already the what's the word? We're the scapegoats. That's it. The scapegoats for everything else that goes wrong in the classroom already, even when it's not our fault. Don't put another thing. Gun reform, again, it's necessary, but unfortunately, given the state of today, given like what we were talking about earlier with social media and all of these things, it's a pipe dream, I think, to have functioning gun reform. There's our country is an abscess, and what happens in an abscess, it has all that toxic shit underneath the surface, and at some point it needs to be cut open so that all that toxic shit can get out. We've been cut open, and we have a lot of years of getting that toxic shit out before we can really cleanse and heal and things change. And I don't think that we're at a point where that's going to happen with this yet. So unfortunately, like I said to somebody else, school shootings are a tragic certainty at this point. Hopefully I will make it through my whole career without ever having to experience one, but honestly, I don't know. And it's exhausting going in every day, just hoping that I make it home that day. And that's honestly my goal. That's why grades and stuff, yeah, I care, but not as much as I care about me and my students getting out of there at the end of the day in one piece. But yeah, this country has a lot of work to do before we can get to where we need to be, and I don't know if it'll happen in our lifetime, unfortunately.
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Kane, your recap, sir.
Said, hey, why be a pig? You can be a teacher with a gun. Same thing. Sign a list today. But no. It's forms of gun laws. Either, like I said, either you take it, you go all in, and you do, like I said, testing annually, psychological, all that. Basically, renew your license every year, or you just take everything away. And that's the only two solutions I can see that can, make it then help. But yeah, this country has a lot of work to do. We've already said this many times. That's not going to change within our lifetimes. And yeah, I mean, that's all I got.
Well, it has been an absolute pleasure and honor. I'm thankful to have such super, ultra cool, ultra talented, and amazing teacher, artist friends here. There will be another conversation for another day because you just touched on a few things that school to prison pipeline and just the way that young Black boys are treated in public schools. That warrants conversation as well. It might make a lot of folk uncomfortable, but nonetheless, uncomfortable conversation is what we do here. That stated on behalf of myself, my awesome co-host Kane, and my awesome teacher friend Vicki. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in to the I Said a podcast. Same bad time, same bad channel. Next week. Peace.
Yeah.